Life is a non-stop Pareto distribution death match. A game that is rigged against almost everybody. A game that you will not win. Many guys complain that women wait at the finish line and only date the winners of the race. That the winner sleeps with a beauty queen and the loser sleeps alone. This isn't just women, this is Mother Nature. This is how biology is organized. This is how reality is organized. Everybody wants to get into the top 1%, but just by sheer statistics, 99% of the people won't be in that top percent. Yet 99% of people have this deep drive, this deep belief that you can get into the top 1%. Everybody wants to be a star on social media, but only a few 1 or 2% will ever make any money on social media. Everybody wants to be a best-selling author, a best-selling novelist, but only the 1 or 2%, the top 1 or 2% will ever make more than $500 per year selling their books on Kindle. All kids want to become sports heroes, rock stars, movie stars, but only about 1 or 2% will ever be paid for that type of activity. Even genetic mutations since the dawn of time through the lens of evolution. 99% of genetic mutations are left behind and forgotten by history. Only 1% make it into the next generation. Most species, 95% of species are extinct. They didn't make the cut. Everybody wants to get into the top, but few will be able to get there. We all have this drive, this inner belief that if I work hard enough, that if I keep trying and trying and trying, I'll get better and better and I'll get up to the top 1%. This is built into our neurology. This is built into our DNA. All animals have this process. All animals have this Pareto structure where only the top 1 to 5% ever have sex and ever send their genes into the next generation. This requires that all animals have this belief that I can one day get into the top 1%. Any type of species, human or not species, that didn't have this structure, where they believed I could never get into the top 1%, they never tried, and that species went extinct. We have this drive that compels us, that makes us believe, compared to what actually is happening, to believe that we can get into the top 10%. And that drives all human inventions. That drives all human productivity. That drives all human innovations. But all of the top 1% of the people do most of the work. Now, there's a couple of ways we can respond to this dynamic, this Pareto distribution death match, this structure that creates this economic system where the 1% hoard all of the wealth. This is not because the system is broken. This is how the system was designed by evolution. So how do you respond to this? Well, there's a few ways. One is to just take a whole bunch of black pills, get angry that the system is rigged, stay on the sidelines, and just give yourself an ulcer. The other response is to get in the game and do your best to see how high you can climb up the Pareto ladder of death distribution death match. That might feel better. That might make you feel like you're making forward progress, but there's a 99% chance you won't get into that top level. There's a third option, a much more enjoyable option, and that is to ditch the game completely. Stop playing the game completely. Forget about the never-ending status contests that bleeds through all of our interactions. Understand the deep drive of your ego, which compels you to always express your status, always express the results of your productivity in hopes that society will reward you and you'll get to the top 1%. Realize this dynamic exists. Control this urge. Because once you understand this dynamic, once you understand that this is the function of the ego that compels us to express ourselves in any way possible so we can win this status contest, so we can make it to the next generation, or our genes can make it to the next generation. Realize this dynamic exists and turn it off. Relax your need to express your ego all the time, because you can still get in the game. You can still play the game. You can still make a lot of money in the game. You can still have a lot of sex in the game. You just need to realize that you're never going to be in the top 1%. So how do you do this? How do you turn off your ego? The first step is to realize that it is an instinct. It's something that will never go away. The drive, the compulsion, the desire to express your ego into conversations, into society, that will always be there. Just like your hunger will always be there. But you don't have to be a slave to your hunger instinct. You can manage your hunger instinct. By understanding why we have a hunger instinct, you can calculate what kind of calories to eat every day so you stay healthy and live a long life and live free from disease. To leave the unconscious compulsion to stuff your pie hole with as many processed foods as you can, like most people. Leave that behind and live a healthy life by choosing a healthy diet. You can do the same with your ego. Every time you see somebody out in public that looks like they're the kind of person that just obeys their hunger instinct and stuffs their pie hole with as much processed food as they can, this is how people treat their ego when they say, me, me, me. What about my idea? What about my idea? What about my idea? It's the same kind of dynamic. But if you can understand this, if you can control your ego like you can control your hunger instinct, you can gain an enormous amount of persuasive and seductive power over other people. You can come in under the radar and persuade and seduce people without any resistance whatsoever. Because once you understand and manage your own ego instinct, your own ancient drive to try to gain as much status as possible, and turn that off, you can leverage that drive in other people. You can talk to people in a way so they will subconsciously associate whatever it is you want them to do, give you money, have sex with you. You can get them to associate that with the expression of their ego, and they will do whatever you want, and they will believe it is their idea. This is the whole dynamic behind conspicuous consumption. People don't buy a car because it goes from point A to point B. People buy a car because it is a subconscious ego flex. People don't buy Louis Vuitton bags because they're high quality and they can carry your shit. People buy Louis Vuitton bags because they are a subconscious ego flex. The clothes we wear, the colors we wear, the brands we wear, they're not just to cover our skin and protect us from the sun. They are a subconscious ego flex. And marketers and producers of products have realized long ago that if they can make an association, a subconscious association with buy my product equals ego flex, they can sell a ton of products to a ton of people. Buy my product, ego flex. Buy my product, ego flex. Buy my product, ego flex. Do this and you can sell a ton of products. You can also do this conversationally. Do what I want, ego flex. Do what I want, ego flex. Do what I want, ego flex. You come in under the radar, but it requires that you understand this ego dynamic. You understand that this ego dynamic exists in everybody, including you. This never-ending desire to assert yourself all the way to the top of the Pareto distribution death match, and just relax that compulsion, just like you can relax your hunger instinct. And once you relax your ego instinct, you can easily come in under the radar, use your linguistic tools, use your hypnotic language patterns, and create this association. Do whatever you want, ego flex. They'll do whatever you want, and they will believe it as an ego flex. They will do whatever you want, and they will believe it as their idea because they are flexing their ego in the direction of doing what you want. When you understand and combine the linguistic structure of hypnotic language patterns with the ego flexing instinct, you can gain an enormous amount of power over other people's decision-making process, over other people's desires. Most people will never realize that this ego instinct exists, let alone how easily you can manipulate this ego in other people. You can either manipulate their ego instinct, or you can just realize that every time anybody ever does anything, it is at least 50% of an ego flex reason, of a drive to flex their ego. Just understanding this and stepping back from that process will relieve social anxiety, will relieve any kind of black pill ideas about how society is rigged, and you will see the game for what it is because of your understanding of human nature. Because of your experience in linguistic and hypnotic language patterns, somebody like you can really, really, really effectively use this understanding to get people to do whatever you want. And it's much better to leverage their ego to move their action rather than your ego to move their action, which is what most everybody else does. This is why persuasion and sales and seduction is a low probability numbers game. It's ego versus ego. But when you turn off your ego and come in under the radar and leverage their ego in the direction you want, it's easy peasy, squeezy, whatever easy, leasy rhyming word comes after that. The other day I was listening to a podcast from an anthropological psychologist who was saying that those who understand this ego structure have the easiest time making money, and they have the easiest time creating and maintaining romantic relationships. Now, I'm not suggesting that you turn every conversation into an ego flex manipulation exercise, because sometimes it's fun to have ego battles. My idea. But when you want to persuade somebody, when you want to seduce somebody, this is the easiest way. Now, I don't know what's inside your brain, but the truth is that nobody knows what's inside their own brain. We all have these ideas about what our content is, but very few people understand the driving force, which is our ego flex desire. But now that you understand this, you know more about what's inside other people's brains than they do, which gives you an enormous amount of power over other people's decision-making processes. Does it really matter that this might feel a little unethical and manipulative at first? But everybody is desperate to flex their ego. Everybody is desperate to flex their ego, but very few people ever have the opportunity because it's always battle of egos, my idea. But when you turn off your ego, and you get them to flex their ego in the direction that you want, whether it's giving you money or giving you sex, that will make them feel wonderful, more wonderful than they have in probably their whole life. How many ways do you think you'll be able to leverage this idea? How many things do you think you'll be able to get once you truly understand this process? How many ways do you think you'll be able to covertly and hypnotically lead people's thinking and beliefs? Once you truly start to see this dynamic everywhere and everybody, you'll be able to step back from this never-ending Pareto distribution deathmatch game and enjoy interacting with other people, relieving yourself of the need to get to the top 1% and just enjoy life. Come in under the radar, make a ton of money, have a ton of sex with people that will always believe it was their idea to do that. If you'd like to learn how to do this, check out the links below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.